Sunday, December 5th, 2019. Welcome to this episode of Super Dwarf Sundays. This is one of my corn snakes, Rassilon, and he is filling in for Taucetti today because Taucetti went into an SDS cycle after last week's episode. This week, Taucetti spent 3 whole days in his humidity hide. Then he spent 2 days on his shelves during the day, but not active at all. And then for 2 nights this week, he spent swimming and in his water. And for the last 24 hours, he's been in one of his log hides. And I'm certainly not going to bother him to do the intro for this episode. In this episode this week, you're going to get to see Taucetti swimming. Although I'll admit, when I opened the enclosure door to film him swimming, he froze and he gave me a few tongue flicks and looked at me, but he ceased his swimming activities. But we all know that TC loves water because he floods his enclosure frequently, and his water dishes are always dirty and full of debris, and he's oftentimes wet when I get him out. And then you're just going to get to see him hanging out in his enclosure a little bit. Very inactive this week because he's going into a shed cycle. You're also going to get to see a glimpse of the room that TC lives in. Taucetti's our only reticulated python, and he lives in a room with 17 other snakes. 16 of those other snakes are all Morelia spilota, and the other one is this corn snake right here, Rassilon. And Rassilon is a 2017 corn snake that lived the first 2 years of his life in a very environmentally simple tub and rack system. So his breeder told us that he just had substrate and a water dish. So as you can imagine, living the first 2 years of his life like that, and then coming here where there's a lot of activity, and we set up our enclosures with a lot of environmental complexity, he is still getting habituated, and he's still quite nervous. And so right now, I have him in this room because it's quiet, and he can get used to the complexity of his enclosure without a lot of environmental commotion going on outside of his enclosure. But eventually he'll move out into the educational area in our house, in the front room where you see all our Brettles pythons and where my intern and I work and where there's lots of commotion. But for right now, I have Rassilon in the quietest room of the house. And this room is kept at an ambient temperature of anywhere between 78 and 80 degrees, and it's just great for our Morelia spilota. And then all of the enclosures also have individualized heat systems, either radiant heat panels, lamps, or under tank heating. And I do have UVB light in this room as well. I hope you enjoy this video this week. It won't be too long. Not all of the snakes that TC shares this room with were out when I did the video tour of the room, but I will tell you what snakes are in what enclosures and who lives in here with him. watching this episode of Super Dwarf Sundays. This has been Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. This has been Rassilon, the corn snake, filling in for Tau Seti, who's from Reach Out Reptiles, because he's about to shed. And until next time, everyone, please remember to be kind and love your animals.